Kayode Adeyemo, and thank you for being part of your Business with Accent Nominees. Today we'll be looking at a very important topic titled Obtaining Business Permits. So obtaining business permit is one thing you need to do after registering your business. So you don't talk about obtaining business permit when you've not registered with the CAC. You need to have done that, and then if let's say you're a foreign company, it's very important that you've made your necessary filings with the NIPC, the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission. So those things must have been sorted out, because some of the things you would need to get your business permit, are gotten from those registrations you carry out, right? So to be, you need your business permit to be legally recognized as a business entity, to legally operate in Nigeria. After registration, you need your business permit. So the fact that you've registered does not mean that you won't need your business permit. And of course, not all businesses would usually require business permit, so to speak. There are certain businesses, like if you run a casino, of course, you need your business permit. If you run an hotel, you need your business permit. A consultancy, whatever, an audit firm, you deal in juries, you're a car dealer, you need all these things, right? So, but then let's just move on. One thing you should also notice that when we're talking about business permit, there's no one type of business permit. Like I just mentioned, some businesses, of course, there are various permits and there are various requirements, to get those permits, So, but then looking at registration of business, registration for getting your business permit, one thing you need to do is to understand, you need to actually know where you're going to get it. That's like commonsensical. You know the body to approach, and then you proceed, to filing all the necessary things to obtain your business permit. Then of course, after filing all the necessary things, making the necessary payments, you get your business permit, which will now last for a certain period depending on the sector where you operate. So it will now last for, then you have to be renewing over time. So now let's bring this down. Let's bring this specifically to a particular form of business. Let's say like a money lending business, for instance. We have several bodies, several businesses coming and say, what our business wants to do is to actually lend money, amongst other things. So let's say, okay, as a money lending business, you're trying to come up with or try to create, you've registered with CAC, and for instance, let's say you're even a foreign company, you've done the necessary NIPC registration and all that stuff. Now you need to obtain your business permit. So there are certain procedures you must go through, in order to obtain these permits, right? And the first thing, and okay, before I even mention it, like I mentioned, there are different businesses, there are various sectors. But now I just want to specify using, a money lending business, a business that does deals with money lending generally, right? So for a money lending business, what do you need to do? Like every other one, first of all, you need to approach the magistrate court. Right, so as an applicant, as you're applying, for your business to get a money lending license, you need to first approach the magistrate court to get the magistrate's ordinance. Right, so in doing this, you need to take some documents with you. You need to take your the incorporation document of your company. I remember when we mentioned it that you need to have registered. So before you can take your incorporation document of your company to the magistrate, of course you must have registered, right? So this is why you see what we're saying. So now the tax identification number 2, you must have registered with a tax body, and then of course your police clearance certificate on behalf of all your directors. So this one is necessary to ensure that the directors in your company, in your money lending business, they've not been at any time had to do with fraud or any form of crime whatsoever. So this is where they do the thumb printing and all those things. So it's very important that you bring this document before the magistrate. And of course, the whole essence of this is to see that, are you trustworthy? Are you fit and proper in terms of character? So once these things are sorted out, you can now get, of course, the magistrate can now give it, its approval, before which you now proceed to the necessary body, that body that oversees your how you're going to get your whole business permits. So as far as the money lending business is concerned, one body you would want to go to. Of course, you can't do it by yourself. You need someone to represent you, a lawyer or something. You need to actually approach the Ministry of Home Affairs and Interior. So you need to approach the Ministry of Home Affairs and Interior. So at this point, you go there with necessary things. So we're looking at some of those things you need to take to them, right? So you need to take your copies of tax clearance certificate of all directors, like we mentioned. I'm not sure I mentioned it the other time. Oh, okay. So now you need to take copies of your tax clearance certificates, for all your directors for the past 3 years to show that, oh, these people have been paying their taxes. Then you need to do the same for the company, right? You need to do the same for the company, and then of course incorporation document of the company. By incorporation document, I'm not sure I expanded on that the other time. We're talking about the certificate of incorporation that you get after registering with the CAC, for instance, right? So you're looking at that certificate will usually contain your company registration number and then the date of incorporation. That one is there. You have to bring that with you. You're talking about your memorandum of association of your business, which usually states, I think, what that the fact that the directors have consented to be directors in that your business, in your money lending business. You need to bring that aside. Then you have your articles of association, which is more or less like the general rules. It's a rule that governs the business in-house. You need that, and then the other document you bring as well under the incorporation document 8. So the word incorporation document is just housing some of those things you need to bring depending on the sector, and in this situation, of course, you need to bring some of these things I've mentioned, right? So now you also need the reference letter from your banker. Every business has a banker. If, let's say, for example, your own money lending business, you operate with Zenith Bank, you need to get a reference letter stating that. Of course, the whole essence of this reference letter is for them to actually reassure the Ministry of Home Affairs and all that this person runs a corporate account with us and it's that account is actually functioning. So that's the essence of this one. So it's one of the things you need to bring, and it's one of the things that will qualify you to eventually getting your certificate. And then you also need the proof of payment of your money lender's license fee, right? So you're trying to apply for money lender's license. Of course, there are certain fee you pay, and from state to state, from sector to sector, the prices, they range. There are different ranges to it. But I think in Lagos State here, it's 200,000. To get, and you need to bring your proof of payment, like we just mentioned, your proof of payment of 200,000 naira. So it varies, from state to state. Then you also need to bring your proof of payment for the application form. Of course, you get an application form, and of course, the evidence of police clearance of all directors of the company, like we mentioned, at the magistrate. And then all these things are not complete without a letter. So you need to come with a letter, an application letter, which will be addressed to the I think the permanent secretary, of course, the highest body in the Ministry of Home Affairs. So you need to address the letter to the person, and and state all the, of course, it will be drafted in a way. There's a way draft, and it's for your legal practitioner to actually draft it for you. It's not something you can do by yourself, right? So, and once you put these things together, you take it, you forward it to the to the body in charge, and of course. But I think one thing I need to mention is the fact that there are different, after doing this, the third thing is basically that you would need to, based on the books, there's how it works in the books, and there's a way it is practically, based on what I've heard or what I've seen, is that normally they would come and inspect your business. They'll come and inspect your business to see some of the things. So is everything, are you statutorily in line? Some of those things, they look at some of those factors, and then they go on to issue you your certificate. So that's one thing they do. But sometimes in reality, all they do is once they go through your document and they say, oh, okay, I can see some of the things you have there, and then they call you, they put a call through to you. Of course, they have your number on some of the documents you submitted already, and they say, okay, and then they call you and tell you, yeah, you can come pick up your certificate at a specific time. And of course, once you are issued your certificate, it's not forever, like I mentioned earlier. So for this one, I know specifically for the money lending licenses that you need to get, after a year, you need to come back to renew. So you renew yearly. So it's very important that you actually do this before you go into business. So the fact that you've registered your business or done all those preliminaries doesn't mean that, okay, I've registered, I can now start. You don't just start. Right. So after registering, you get this license. This license is what grants you the it makes what you do legal, right? And I need to mention something, and that's the fact that this whole thing with business permits. Yes, it generates revenue for the government. It does that, but most importantly, it's one of the ways the government is able to checkmate businesses, because we have so many legal businesses out there. So it's a way of checkmating to see, oh, this person wants to start this business. Okay, let us see what you're doing. So it's a way of kind of checkmating what they do. And I also did not remember to mention something about, when I said some of the documents you submit alongside the application letter, right? So there's one more thing. Let's say, for instance, you've already registered before, you've been registering, you've been renewing your license, and let's say you want to renew for this year, and for instance, you changed, the name of your business, and you've done that with the CAC and everything, and you want it to reflect. So one of the documents you also need to submit, apart from the whole thing, so it's more or less like a letter too. So it's a letter you attach to the application letter. You put the application letter first, and then that letter will be the next one, and that will be the fact that you'll be notifying them that you changed your name. So you state the previous name, and then you state the current name. So that's one of the things they will put into, that will be packaged, so that in the process of actually uploading some of these things to the system, the name they put there, whatever needs to be changed, like the name we're just talking about, will be changed to the new name, which reflects on the CAC portal. Right, so that's very, very important to note. So now, just to wind everything up, you need to understand that obtaining your business permit saves you a lot of stress. So don't go about, okay, yeah, you've registered, that's fine, right? But the law is saying one more thing. For this business, depending on the business you run, of course, if that business, if it's a real estate business, you need REDAN certificates, you need some of these certificates to get going with your business. Failure to actually get this money lender certificate will cost you more than actually when you would have gotten it, because it comes with a lot of things. It comes with maybe imprisonment, fines, huge sums of fines. So it is advised that you actually take the bold step towards just be compliant. That's what we say. Just be compliant and get the necessary certificate you need to get. Like the one I mentioned now, 200,000. There are other businesses that could be higher than this, lower than this. The prices, they vary, right? So it's very important for you to know that you need to get these things right. Start off on the right foot, for the year, so that you don't get into issues, lawsuits, business closures, arrests, loss of reputation. That one is even like one of the is most serious, because of course once you start to lose your reputation, who would want to come and anyone that wants to even lend money, you would rather go somewhere else, rather than come to your own, because even that's the fact that you might not be all that shady, but a different picture has been painted outside for people to see, and then that would not be good for your business, right? And now, while it is good practice to obtain the necessary permit that pertains to your business, it is also important to know that the requirements vary from state to state, like I already mentioned. So there are different factors: sector, the size of the business, the state where you operate. So there are various factors. So so far so good. We've been able to look at give a brief background to the fact that before getting your permit, you must have registered with the CAC, and if you're a foreign company, you must have registered with the NIPC, the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission. Then bringing it down to general ways of going about the whole obtaining your permit. To know the body you want to know the body, first of all, know the permits you need based on the business you run, and know the body to approach. It's not like there's some business you don't need to come to the one I just mentioned now. So there are bodies you need to meet here and there. You approach them, you make the necessary payments, you do the necessary filings to get your certificate, and then you get your business started. Then we now brought it down by narrowing it to a money lending business. That's one I've had to personally deal with in recent times. So we looked at things you need to go through, some of those processes. You can go back if you're just joining to see how some of those things work. They are very simple, but then the truth is that you can't do these things yourself. You need a legal practitioner. You need someone who is vast and understands the system, to help you with some of these things, because at the end of the day, it will cost you less than it would have cost you before. I hope you're able to gain one or two things from this. The whole essence of this is not just for knowledge sake, because at the end of the day, what does it profit you when you know these things and then you don't do it, and then you fall victim of the bodies that oversee some of these things? It won't be very, very good. So if you've not done it, you're a money lending business, you're into real estate, you're into this, you're into that, and you don't have your necessary certificate, it is advised that you go ahead and get the certificate, to have, just have so you can enjoy your business adventure. I wish you all the best in your business endeavors, and